You're listening to BroStorm Sports. In today's episode, we're going to have a little fun with NFL Trick or Treat, focused on the trade deadline and NFL Week 8 takeaways. After that, we'll get into our best bets as always, and we'll revisit last week's NBA awards. Newsflash, Kyrie Irving is still the worst teammate in the NBA. Stay with us throughout.
It's BroStorm Sports with your hosts Sasha and Scott Bushka. He's a sports talk show host named Sasha, named after Sasha Radunovich. And Scott's a wisdom-seeking, educated networking guy who works in the sports industry. Featuring intern P, the basement beer pong world champion. So put on your bro coat. It's time for a BroStorm.
Welcome into BroStorm Sports. As you heard, courtesy of Hi-Fi Productions, we've got a little new intro song today. Some of you are probably wondering who Sasha Radunovich is or what a wisdom-seeking, educated networking guy is. Maybe Scott can enlighten us a little bit.
What's up, fellas? Happy Halloween. Hey. How we doing?
I'm doing well. I'm assuming you dressed up as Harry Potter tonight.
Good one, Sasha. Is that the glasses thing? Does Harry Potter wear glasses?
You got to have a zinger off the top, and the nerd wallet thing's getting old. So
we, in honor of the Chiefs bye week, I made my 2-year-old twins dress up as Patrick Mahomes, and I dressed up as Andy Reid so we could boss them around. And Andy Reid wears glasses. I don't know if you knew that, Sasha. So that's why I'm wearing glasses. We had a good Halloween night at the Bushka household. No, the Bushka jingle. I don't know if we should go in too much depth, but our mother, Sally Bushka, she's a K-8 or was for most of her career a K-8 music teacher, and happened to write a song for all of her 4 children. And so we use a little bit of the lyrics in those songs. Sasha's a boy named Sasha, named after Sasha Radunovich. And I can't really speak to why my lyrics are the way that they are, but having a little fun with our mom's music. Dave over at Hi-Fi Productions is mixing it up, so I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the critical thing is Pearson got his portion actually written by Dave from Hi-Fi, so he probably got the strongest lyrics in this scenario. Basement beer pong champion of the world, which I think could be repeated.
I thought basement beer pong champion of the world was a little flattering in my opinion. I don't know if we've donned him the champion of the world yet. There's a rematch coming.
Well, you're focusing on the wrong part, Scott. They're calling him the beer pong champion of the world, but he's also referring to him as basically a basement troll. So
it's not very nice of him, but I'll take it. I'll take the comments so I can get one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little worried about intern P's. Have you been drinking a lot this Halloween, or how's your performance going to be tonight?
Actually, really good. I had to take a break as usual. I go pretty hard on the weekends, so have to calm it down a bit during the week, or bad things happen.
I like that. As you've probably already figured out, I'm your host, Sasha Bushka. I'm joined by my brother, Scott Bushka, and intern P tonight. It is Halloween night. It's Monday, October 31st. And in honor of Halloween, we're going to do a little trick-or-treat tonight. This whole first segment's going to be trick-or-treat on some various different topics. We're going to start out with the NFL Trade Deadline edition. We're just going to go through some of the trades that have already happened and talk about whether the team's got tricks or treats. And I think Scott's going to lead us off and tell us what our first one is.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, trade deadline is tomorrow at November 1st, 4 p.m., right? 4 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. There's still a few hanging out there.
I'm a little disappointed at the activity. I thought when we got to this moment on Monday evening before the trade deadline, we were going to have a little bit more action, but I don't know. The NFL needs to take, I think, a page out of the NBA playbook where you just have like huge mega deals happening at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the trade deadline and like trade deadlines in general has always been dominated by baseball and the hot stove. It's a sport where you can easily plug and play, and you basically don't have to give up anything off of your current team to get a player because you trade minor leaguers, which is the same way as the NFL when you're trading draft picks. But I can remember a time when there was basically no in-season trades in the NFL. So I agree that there's less activity than there could be, but I think it's more so than it was 10 years ago, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good point. All right, let's get into it. First one we're gonna do is in honor of we love the Chiefs. So Kadarius Toney, wide receiver on the Giants, was traded to the Chiefs. I think mid last week. So Sasha, did the Chiefs get a treat or did they get tricked by the Giants front office?
They gave up a third and a sixth, I believe. It was a compensatory pick that they had received for Ryan Poles getting a job with the Bears is what the third was. So it's kind of an extra third-round pick, but it's not conditional on anything like it was sometimes reported. It was a conditional pick, but they're giving the pick. I hate to say it, and I hate to start out on this tenor, but compared to some of the other trades that went down, I feel like the Chiefs may have gotten tricked. I don't know how much Kadarius Toney's going to help, and I hope I'm wrong. What's more interesting about this deal to me is I think it's a little bit of a signal that maybe Sky Moore's not going to be what the Chiefs hoped he would be.
Yeah, I think if you would ask me this one, I would have said treat, only because I think what they see in Kadarius Toney is obviously some of the same traits of a Tyreek Hill. And to me, it's the classic scenario where he's not doing much in the Giants offense, but you put him in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' hands, and I think he's going to be pretty explosive. But he's had trouble staying on the field, so that's one thing. And I 100% think you're right that it's definitely an indictment on the Sky Moore pick. So that would be 2 drafts in the last 4 years where you took a second rounder with a wide receiver, McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, kind of both in that like Tyreek Hill mold, and you didn't really hit on them. So I think it's going to be good in the Chiefs offense, but I think it's a fair take for you.
Yeah, those 2 picks I think could have been DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So just something to look at. You can always look at drafts and say you could have taken this guy or you could have taken that guy, but it's true that those 2 picks could have been those 2 guys. We were kind of debating before the show when to bring intern P into this conversation. I think it's fair to bring him in on a tiebreaker. So, Kadarius Toney, trick or treat?
I think it's a trick, honestly. I don't think he's done anything yet in New York. He was hyped up. I think he's kind of a diva as well. I don't know how well he's going to fit in that offense, but only time will tell. So just got to wait till next week, I guess.
Yeah. Or Andy Reid came out today and said he would play when he's comfortable. So we'll see when that comes. But they do say he's fully healthy. Funny how that works when guys get traded and miraculously their ailments heal, which to me is a little bit of a red flag too when you're acquiring a guy that's in that category.
For sure.
Second on the list, just moving forward, keep it pushing here. I'm going to go to Scott first on this one. Robert Quinn to the Eagles.
Robert Quinn from the Bears to the Eagles. I believe it was for a 4th rounder. Do I have that right, Sasha? Oh, Sasha's taking a drink of non-alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
4th rounder?
That sounds right to me. I was
that's what it says on the interweb.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is it's a low risk treat for the Eagles. It's a trick on the rest of the NFL because I don't know, like Howie Roseman, the dude is he just like smarter than every other GM in the league? I don't know how he keeps doing this. Like the Eagles just loaded up on talent in the offseason. They brought in a bunch of dudes in their secondary. They brought in AJ Brown. Now they get a top tier D lineman mid-season. Now, I will say this. Last year, Robert Quinn had 18.5 sacks. This year, I think he has 1 through 7 games. So he's clearly a declining player. But when you're a team like the Eagles and you're giving up a 4th round pick in a year when the NFC's weak and you clearly have a shot to come out of it, like to me, it feels like low risk, high reward to give up a 4th round pick. So I'm going to say treat for the Eagles.
Yeah, I went treat as well, just on the basis of the Eagles seem to be rampaging people, if that's how you describe a blowout. I don't think that's the right word. But
Rampaging people.
Point
Like
is, they're playing with big
Game of
leads, and a
Thrones.
pass rusher is only going to help them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we agreed on one. Let's keep rolling along here. James Robinson, running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have limped along to, I think, a 2-6 record now, traded to the Jets. Sasha, trick or treat for the New York Jets.
James Robinson became expendable for the Jaguars because Travis Etienne, I guess, is a stud. Like, I didn't think a ton of Travis Etienne coming out of college, and then he misses his whole first year, but he looks great right now. So that makes James Robinson expendable. On the surface, it's a low risk deal for the Jets. They gave up a 6th rounder for him, and it was kind of out of necessity because they just lost Breece Hall. But I'm going to say it's a trick because James Robinson is not Breece Hall. He's coming off of a torn Achilles. Really, and it pains me to say it because I had Travis Etienne and James Robinson on my fantasy team, so I was wanting this to be like, hey, they both become feature backs now. But I think if the Jets have any inclination that James Robinson is going to replace Breece Hall, they're getting tricked all the way to the bank, and he didn't do much in his first week with them this past week. Now, granted, it takes a little time to get in there, but I still think Michael Carter is going to be the number one back for the Jets. I mean, I don't think it's a big trick, but I'll go trick on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the bigger trick on the Jets is Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've been getting tricked by him for a couple years now, so we'll see how much longer that lasts.
I mean, yeah, I don't. He's not good. He's pretty bad. Yeah.
We're gonna get to the Jets later in the show in another segment. I think they're one of our teams that we're scheduled to talk about, or later in this segment actually, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of Zach Wilson conversation there.
All right. I'll move off of it.
Yeah.
Two more. We got two more trades to get through.
It's tempting to talk about Zach Wilson, but I'll give you this one, Scott. Christian McCaffrey to the Niners for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then a 2024 5th, I believe.
Yeah, I post the first week of the trade, the Chiefs game, I was tempted to say they got tricked on this one. But I'm gonna say treat for the same reason really that I did with Robert Quinn and the Eagles is you've got a contending team in the NFC who's got a really good defense and a quarterback who's limited in Jimmy G. I think we all know that. And they gave themselves another weapon on offense to do really diverse things. And I listened to pretty good analysis. I mean, the thing that's really valuable to the Niners and Kyle Shanahan about Christian McCaffrey is that he can run the ball, he can catch the ball, and apparently he can throw the ball as well. He had 3 touchdowns last week, a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown, which means that when he's in the game, defenses can't get a read on what the Niners are going to do, which I think when you got a play caller like Kyle Shanahan is really valuable. And so I think he just gives them some ability to disguise what they're doing that some of their other backs didn't. So I'm gonna go treat for the Niners. I think he makes their offense better. They still have limitations at quarterback, but a lot of teams do.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree, treat, even though they did give up a lot. And that's the tough part about determining whether these are tricks or treats, because technically they're all treats for the team right now. But if you're mortgaging your future and giving up draft picks, you have to weigh that into the equation a little bit. But I'll go treat on Christian McCaffrey. And the point I'd make on this one is, like, Deebo Samuel's a hell of a runner. But every time that Deebo Samuel is lined up at running back in your backfield, he's not lined up at wide receiver. So they eliminate having to do that. They have Christian McCaffrey, who's the best runner in the game. Most people would agree, or at least, top 3. and then Deebo Samuel's still out at wide receiver instead of having to bring him into the backfield. And I think Christian McCaffrey's going to kill it in the Shanahan system. Like you saw it this week against the Rams. Shanahan creates holes for these guys and creates running lanes. And Christian McCaffrey in that scenario, he was ripping off, 5, 6, 7 yards and then more on most of the time that he got the ball. So I'm going to agree treat there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the treat of the century for Christian McCaffrey, the player.
Yeah.
I heard the comparison to Mike Trout. It was like he was destined to be like a really great player that just lived out his career in like relative obscurity because he never played on a good team. And we never got to see him in a playoff game. We never got to see him in these big moments where you remember like when Christian McCaffrey did that and got some team a win in the playoffs. He's not a Bay Area kid, but he went to Stanford, right? So he's going back to an area he's familiar with. And so he goes from a Panthers team, which hasn't been good since he's been there, to a Niners team in contention. And I think like it's good for all of us. So we're going to get to see him in big moments in the playoffs.
Absolutely. We got one more. I'm going to lead on this one. You want to give it to me, Scott?
Last one announced today. Roquan Smith. Sorry, I'm going through. I'm like a teenage boy going through puberty here. Roquan Smith, linebacker from the Chicago Bears, which this is the second major defensive player we're talking about from the Bears, traded to the Ravens.
Yeah,
trick or treat
for a second and a fifth, I believe. Here's what I'm going to go here. It's a tricky treat, a very tricky treat, because
that's kind of like that's kind of like last week. You're with Tom Brady. Like the only way to go out on top is go out on top.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you this: it's going to make the Ravens a little bit better on defense. They have a linebacker that can cover a little bit. He also is really good in pass rushing, so it's going to make their pass defense better. He's got like the most tackles in the NFL since he was drafted, so it'll make them better right now. But they gave up a second and a fifth, and he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. And their franchise tag is going to Lamar Jackson. So if they can't sign him after this year, that's a trick. And on top of that, if they do sign him this year, it's also a trick because you don't want to pay an inside linebacker big money in the NFL. You want to pay left tackles, pass rushers, wide receivers, quarterbacks. Nobody's paying inside linebackers. That's the whole reason the Bears are trading him, and he almost didn't play the season for the Bears this year. So I actually think from a long-term perspective, looking at it, yeah, you're pushing your chips to the center, but it could end up being a pretty decently sized mistake for them.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I got nothing to add. It's a position similar to running back, and they paid a similar price to what the Niners paid for Christian McCaffrey. So I feel like that checks out. But it's a great point about him. His contract ending at the end of this year.
Yeah. Now, Intern P, we only brought you in on one tie there. So anything you generally disagree with or want to add to the NFL trade deadline trick or treat?
I do. I want to go back to McCaffrey. Did the Panthers win? I mean, how are they feeling right now? I mean, they won, 2 weeks ago and probably should have won this last week. I mean, was Christian McCaffrey a cancer? I mean, we have to ask that question.
I mean, you could ask that question if you didn't think that Baker Mayfield and Matt Rule were cancers first.
So I don't think Christian McCaffrey is a cancer if you want to ask that question. But I do think it was a good trade for the Panthers. Like, it was the right thing to do. They just fired their coach. They obviously don't have quarterback figured out. They got P.J. Walker launching balls for him to DJ Moore, and DJ Moore ripping off his helmet, which is great, but I don't think anyone thinks P.J. Walker's the long-term
pass was a beauty.
Yeah, it was. It was a good pass, and Mahomes said it was the best pass of the year. But that right there, that comment that Mahomes said P.J. Walker made the pass of the year is exactly how you know P.J. Walker is not the quarterback of the future, because Mahomes wouldn't say that about like somebody that he thought of as a contemporary or somebody he was competing against. P.J. Walker is just like a random story that Mahomes Mahomes is the kind of guy that might say that if Josh Allen threw it on his bye week and he's just sitting at home watching football. But the point is, nobody views P.J. Walker as a threat. The Panthers are tanking the season, and they got a pretty good haul for a position that's not of value, that they can probably draft a second-rounder next year with one of the 4 picks they got and get almost the production they're getting in that position, because people draft second-round running backs that are awesome all the time, i.e. Kenneth Walker this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody that you guys see that hasn't made a move yet that should be trying to get up on trade deadline this year? I don't even know if that was a sentence, but
I think I know what you were asking. I'm shocked. The Packers do this every year, but I'm shocked the Packers aren't trying to get a wide receiver. I'm shocked the Giants aren't trying to get a wide receiver. They traded Kadarius Toney, and they don't. It seems like they don't have a single guy that can catch a ball or run a route over 10 yards. Same with the Titans. And then the Rams and Bucks, I think, are both, it's not sexy, but both desperate for offensive linemen. And I don't see things improving there until they get some offensive linemen to protect their old ass, can't move quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's hard to trade for offensive linemen during the season. And it's also like we've gotten to the point in the NFL. I think the reason we didn't see trades in the past is because people thought like you can't integrate somebody into an NFL team in the middle of a season. And we've gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, it's a running back. You just give them the ball and they run it, like no big deal. And people feel that way. But offensive line is a major position of cohesion and like guys working together and the 5 guys working across. But yeah, I mean, if you can get a left tackle and plug and play, but nobody's really trading their good left tackles because it's a premium position. Same with center and all of that. I would have liked to see, and maybe it'll still happen because he played tonight, I'd like to see the Rams go get Kareem Hunt. I mean, I think their running back room, like Darrell Henderson is their number 1 back, and he got the ball like 3 times in that game against the Niners because he's not good. Cam Akers is not going to play anymore. He was coming off a torn Achilles anyways and didn't look that good. And I don't even know the names of the other guys they're plugging and playing right now.
I thought Reggie Rivers was their lead back.
I mean,
who? Who's that?
Reggie,
Never even heard of him.
I think he came straight from Bishop Carroll High School, Wichita, Kansas. Not to be confused with Brees Hall.
Nice. The other, you mentioned Packers and wide receiver. There is one other thing still floating out there. Somebody's going to sign Odell Beckham Jr. And I think that's somebody's best chance at a wide receiver at this point. I think the Chiefs probably took themselves out of that conversation by trading for Kadarius Toney, which he was spotted on the plaza a few weeks ago, and the Chiefs cleared that cap space with Travis Kelce, but that looks to not be the case anymore. The Rams reportedly made him a laughable offer that he wouldn't even consider at some point this season. So that leaves the Packers as a pretty legitimate contender for that. So we'll see how that plays out with Odell Beckham Jr.
There's also Chase Claypool hanging out there for the Steelers right now. I think he's going to get traded by tomorrow. The Steelers are downhill to say the least.
Who do you got getting him?
I'd like to see him go to the Packers. I'm a Aaron Rodgers stan. I really am. I know you guys hate him, but I'd love to see him on that team.
You would be an Aaron Rodgers fan. You should see if you can get on Pat McAfee's podcast with him. I hear they need an intern, and I don't know if you know this, but we posted the job.
Oh no!
Yeah. I have it on good authority that Pearson's looking for jobs as a referee right now.
That's true.
Blind ref for Halloween.
I was a blind ref for Halloween, and it was very comical. I had my cane
Aaron
and everything.
Rodgers probably would have rolled his eyes at that.
Did you guys? I feel like we should probably move on to Week 8 takeaways. But did you guys see the video of those high school refs that clearly, like, it was some game where a team clearly didn't convert on 4th down, and they moved the chains back like a foot and a half for the team to get a first down?
No, but I like it. I'm here
All right,
for it.
I'm spending too much time on
I'd
Twitter.
rather them move the chains than give a bad spot.
Yeah.
It's the principle of the thing. If you're going to cheat, just do it blatantly.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did. That's what they did.
All right.
So. All right.
So here's what I want to do on these NFL takeaways. So we've talked a lot about some of the good teams in the NFL, some of the bad teams in the NFL, and then there's these teams hanging out there that have good records right now, or at least decent records. They're somewhere at 500 or above, but we didn't think they were going to be good coming into the year, and we still don't really know if they're good. So we're going to do a little trick-or-treat edition on these teams. So I guess treat is, yes, they're good, and trick is, no, they're not good. Sound fair?
I love that. I love the Halloween theme. We're crushing it.
So I'll let you start, Scott.
Fair. Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna start with, I think, maybe my favorite team in the NFL right now, and it's not because they're close to me locally here up in Portland, but the Seattle Seahawks. I'm getting an echo, by the way. But the Seattle Seahawks, 5-3, leaders in the NFC West right now. I can't decide if they're my favorite team because I dislike Russell Wilson so much, or I really like Geno Smith. But I still can't get over his quote after the first week of the season after beating the Broncos, when after the game someone said they wrote you off, and he said, yeah, but I didn't write back. Dude, I just think he is a legitimate NFL quarterback. Their offense is good. They can run the ball. They're efficient on third down. I'm trying to look up right now. You guys were giving me shit, making fun of me, but Seattle is currently 6th in offensive DVOA per Football Outsiders in the entire league. So their offense is legit. Their defense is getting better. They nailed the draft. And I think Seattle is a legit contender. So I'm going treat on Seattle. In a slightly weaker than we thought NFC West. I think they have a real chance to win that, and I also think it's just a huge win for Pete Carroll and the culture he's built. And I think we're all starting to see that maybe he is the one that made Russell Wilson a little bit better than Russell Wilson was versus the other way around.
So I'll accept the answer and all the premises if you can explain to me what. If you can explain to me what I didn't write back actually means.
It means they tried to write him off, and he did not accept their response. He didn't write them back. He's still coming with it. He's coming with the heat. That was not where I expect you to go with that question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked that quote a lot too, so I wanted to talk more about it.
You know, like when intern P is snapping chicks and they don't write back? It's like that. It means they don't. It means they're not interested in what you're putting down.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Similar to that happen a lot, intern P.
I wasn't quite ready for that. Actually, it kind of
intern
does.
P trying to slide into Giselle's DMs, or Kevin Durant trying to slide into Giselle's. Like, it's the same thing. Sorry.
What do you think about
where does this? How does this relate to Geno Smith sliding into Giselle's DMs? Who's not writing back in that scenario?
We've gotten off course here.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
I'll get us back
the,
on track.
What do you feel about the line this week against the Cardinals, that they're underdogs? I know you love the Cardinals, so I just wanted to get your take on that one. -1.5. They're underdogs.
Well, they just beat the Cardinals by 10 in Seattle. The only thing that worries me is DeAndre Hopkins is a real game changer, I think, for the Cardinals, and he's making Cliff Kingsbury look less stupid than he actually is. He looks really good, and I think he makes their offense different. So that's my only concern.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. We got to get moving here a little bit. So I'm going to give you all my tricks and treats on the rest of the teams we have down, and I'm going to give you my general premise on why I'm picking these, and then I'll let you guys jump in, give your final thoughts, and we'll move on. My general premise, when I looked at these, I was like, do any of these teams have good quarterbacks? And essentially the answer was no. And so then I'm looking at it like, okay, they don't have good quarterbacks. They all probably have pretty decent rosters around, because otherwise how would they have a decent record without the quarterback? And so then I'm looking at it situationally.
Hey, Sasha, can you just tell us what teams do you got in the equation?
Yeah, I was gonna run through it, but right. Giants, Jets, Falcons, Dolphins, Vikings is who we're talking about here.
Giants, Jets, Falcons, Dolphins, Vikings. Okay.
Yeah. And so my general premise is like what's going on around them, their division, their conference, that sort of thing, to determine whether they can keep this up. So with the Giants, Daniel Jones, not very good. Brian Daboll's kind of like caught lightning in a bottle with winning these close games. I think the NFC East is actually really good. The Cowboys and the Eagles are both better than the Giants. So I'm going to say trick on the Giants. Jets play in the AFC. A team with a shitty quarterback in the AFC is not going to go very far. It's just a fact of life. The NFC, maybe you can get by with it. So I'm going to say trick on the Jets. Falcons, they might play in the worst division in football right now, the NFC South. They have a good run game. Mariota's managing it to an extent. So I'll give them a treat. I'll give the Dolphins a treat.
Sasha, can I stop you on that for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you guys watch the Falcons-Panthers game this weekend?
Yes.
Tell them why, Sasha. Why do we watch it so closely?
I think Pearson had the Falcons -4.
No, I was talking about Mariota as your quarterback. I know you love him a lot.
I also have Mariota as a quarterback in my fantasy league. Ha, 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 make fun of me. It's part of life in a Superflex league.
The reason I bring it up, well, the Falcon in the trick or treat category, the Falcons tried to lose that game in about 6 different ways.
Yes.
And the shittiness of the Panthers plus like some bad NFL rules wouldn't let it happen. Anyways.
Yes, that's true. Essentially, I think most people have seen the highlights on that game by now. But the nice thing for DJ Moore is, just to give a quick takeaway on this, he pulls off his helmet, gets a 15-yard penalty, and the Panthers miss an extra point to win the game. The nice thing is the Panthers kicker missed another kick later to win the game. So at that point, it's no longer DJ Moore's fault. You have to say the kicker sucks, and it's the kicker's fault. That's my takeaway on it. And DJ Moore caught like a 72-yarder to even put them in that position in the first place. Really quick, 2 more after the Falcons. I'm going to say yes on the Dolphins. I think they're the team on this list that it's not all about the quarterback, because Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are legitimate like NFL stars that make a quarterback better. And I think that's a big deal. And so while they are in a tough division and they have the Bills in them, I don't think the Jets are as good as people think. So I'll say the Dolphins are number 2 in that division and can get a wild card into the playoffs. And I said yes. I meant treat. Sorry. And the Vikings, I said treat as well. They have the best record of all these teams, only 1 loss. And Justin Jefferson's a stud. Dalvin Cook's a stud. Kirk Cousins, while not great, like, is better than the other quarterbacks on this list. Thoughts?
Yeah, I hate to do this for benefit of the show, but I more or less agree all the way around. I think that Kirk Cousins he'd take some issue with you saying all of these teams have shitty quarterbacks. Although the vast majority of people who have ever placed a single bet on the NFL would probably agree with you that Kirk Cousins is not to be trusted in any scenario, particularly primetime game scenarios. I think the difference with the Vikings, the Dolphins, and the Seahawks, who I think we're saying are the treats in this scenario, and then we're saying the Giants, the Jets, and Falcons are the tricks. The difference with those 3 is I think they all have above average serviceable quarterbacks, right? And I think both Tua and Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, and actually Geno Smith too, but Tua and Kirk Cousins, I think, are both examples of where a decent coach in a better offensive situation can make a quarterback better. Right, which we know is a thing in the NFL. Like, us as Chiefs fans never want to talk about it, but like, we might never know what Patrick Mahomes would look like if he wasn't with Andy Reid. You know what I mean? Like, it makes a big difference what like quarterback and system together. And I think Tua and Kirk are like enjoying being under a better system with better coaches.
I've got one final thought, but I want to hear if intern P disagrees with anything egregiously before I give it.
I really don't either. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think Kirk Cousins is a lot better than most people give credit for. Just those primetime blunders really kill him sometimes. If he just could be decent in primetime, I think he would look so much better.
Instant analysis from intern P. I like it.
Sasha, can I just say the NFL product is amazing, man. Like that Panthers Falcons game, like the unpredictability, and we were going back and forth a little bit, but just the way that the NFL manages to keep things unpredictable and weird shit just happening, like weird, unpredictable, like you don't expect things happening at the end of all these games is just like, it's unbeatable. It's really good.
Yeah.
I thought this weekend of games was really good, except for tonight.
Speaking of weird shit, we just talked about these quarterbacks and why these teams are treats, and we had Geno Smith on the good side of that conversation. The Athletic puts out their tiers list before every season, tiers 1 through 5 on NFL starting quarterbacks. Geno Smith was literally the only quarterback they put in tier 5 in the entire league. Everybody else was tier 4 or better. So goes to show you that you don't always know what's going to happen going into a season, and you don't always know what's going to happen going into a bet. So on the other side of the break, we're going to give you our best bets from last week and for this week. Spoiler alert, we had another pretty good week. Having an event that needs amazing entertainment? Hi-Fi Productions is the way to go. They bring their mobile dueling pianos and provide a highly interactive and fun show that's perfect for fundraisers, corporate events, or any kind of party. Is somebody getting married soon? Hi-Fi also provides the best wedding DJ service around, winning Wedding Wire's Couples Choice Award 4 years in a row. They know how to pack a dance floor. Based in Wichita, Kansas, visit hifiproductions.net to book your unforgettable event. Welcome back into BroStorm Sports, where we're giving you some trick-or-treat takeaways on this Halloween night. We gave you some NFL trick-or-treats in the first segment. Now we're going to give you some treats to take to the bank in the NFL Week 9 picks. But first, let's take a look at how we did last week.
Yeah, I think I'm on point to wrap the picks from last week. I gotta say, I don't know if people take us that seriously, especially because intern P is like snapping most of the episode. But maybe they should start because that's 2 straight weeks. Last week we were 5-1, best bets in week 7, and then week 8 we were 5-2. Which, if anyone has done any betting with Vegas, to go 5-1 and 5-2. For a 10-3 record over a 2-week span is pretty ridiculous. So we are doing quite well, fellas. We don't know much, but it seems like we know something. So Sasha, last week you had the Niners minus 1.5 over the Rams. They won that game handily. I believe it was 31-14 or maybe 34-14, but it wasn't close. They won that handily, and then you also had the Washington C-word Commanders, +3 against the Indianapolis Colts. They won that game outright. It was ugly, 17-16, but turns out Sam Ehlinger, I think that's how you pronounce it, is not that good at quarterback. So good call there, 2-0. You were 8-2 overall, which is, I don't know, man. I always thought you were a dumbass, so I'm actually quite impressed.
Yeah, I think the smartest thing you said in all of that there was, first of all, you're impressed by me, but second of all, Washington probably should have just changed their name to the Washington C-words, because I think you just made that up on the spot.
I didn't. I've heard it before, but it's, I'm not on board with the Commanders as a name, so we'll keep using it if we want to. Okay, intern P. Sasha disallowed your beer pong win. You picked 3 times this week. You were 2-1. You had Ravens -2 over the Bucks on Thursday night. They covered that handily. Really good call by you. Tom Brady continues to deteriorate. And also, I don't think it's on the agenda, but he formalized his divorce, so intern P might have had some insider knowledge on that, given his relationship with Giselle. Second pick was Vikings covering 3.5 over the Cards. I believe they won by 8. That was actually a pretty decent game. There was plenty of, as tends to happen in Vikings Cards, pretty dumb stuff on both sides. But they covered. That made you 2-0. And then tonight did not go your way. You've been really high on the Bengals. I think they got a tough break with Jamar Chase being out this week. But you had Bengals covering 3 over the Browns, and they got beat pretty handily. So 2-1 for you on the week. Nice work. That brings you to 5-5. You're clawing your way back, man. 5-5 overall. Anything to say for yourself?
Feeling great. Just going to capitalize on my momentum here. I'm not taking the Bengals today. Not doing it. I really want to, but I'm not going to.
Did you put any real money on your bets this past week?
I am down a large amount. I'm not going to say how much, but I'm not feeling too good right now.
You really wanted to place a bet on the Bengals -8.5 after that performance they put up tonight? Starting to question your logic.
As we've learned, intern P can legally bet on his own without your permission, Sasha. So just let him do whatever he wants.
Legally, yes.
Okay, we're gonna try to move us along here. I went over unders. I didn't pick any line. I picked the Lunder down under. Showed intern P how it's really done. I had the Broncos and Jags to go under 40.5. It was close.
Yeah.
If Nat Hackett PI didn't decide to go for that 4th down and kick a field goal, I would have been screwed. But he did. Total of 38, so I won that. The Broncos continue to pay off on the under. 6 of their 7 games have gone under. And then I picked the Raiders Saints over 47.5. That was not even close. Somehow the Raiders did not score a single point against the Saints. I don't know how that happened. I didn't watch the game, but so that was an L. My takeaway is that I am mediocre in just about everything I do in life. I continue to go 1-1. I'm 4-6 on the year. That brings me to last place. I'm sorry, listening public. You should. I mean, we have talked about fading my picks. You should not fade BroStorm Sports overall, but you should fade my picks. So we were 5-2 on the week. That's pretty damn good. 8-2 for Sasha, 5-5 for intern P, 4-6 for Scott.
Yeah, and I've gotten some feedback that maybe we should explain once again what fading means. Fading is just basically means you don't trust anything we say and you pick the opposite of whatever Scott and Pearson pick. Also, since I'm 8-2, I'd probably fade me as well because, water finds its level. One quick question, Scott, on all of that you just said. I believe you said Nat can't hack it PI. I hadn't heard that reference.
It's just like he's in an 80s cop show.
He's a private investigator.
Yeah, it kind of sounds I think he'd be better at that than being the Broncos coach. But
I mean, there was word on the street that Nathaniel Hackett, or Can Hackett, however you want to say it, was scheduled to get fired in a foreign country if the Broncos lost that game.
That'd be amazing. It would be amazing. I think he's American, but it would be amazing if they fired him in London and then his HB1 work visa expired and then he couldn't come back to the U.S.
I just imagined him trying to catch a flight. I just imagined him trying to catch a flight from London, because they didn't let him back on the team plane, and they're like, "We'll get you to U.S. soil. We'll get you to the U.S. Virgin Islands, but no further than that. You got to get yourself home the rest of the way."
Yeah, sorry, sir. Our employment records say that as of today at 3 p.m., you're no longer employed by a U.S. company, so you cannot board this flight. All right.
That's neither here nor there.
The Broncos won, actually, so.
I want to
Maybe it's
start.
Doug Peterson.
I want to start with intern P on the picks this week.
All right,
You got
let's
two
roll.
for us, P?
I'm typing
Of
it in.
course.
NerdWallet database. Let's go, Pete.
Love NerdWallet. Sponsor us. Okay, so you guys are going to hate this pick. I'm betting against the Chiefs this week. I'm doing it. Prime time.
Yeah.
I think that the Titans are just going to control the game on the ground. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a pretty good game. Chiefs defense isn't the best, so I'm going to take Titans plus 11.
Dude, I feel that line was definitely in the most disrespectful line of the week category. 2 5-2 teams, the Titans are 5-2, and they're just Chiefs by 11. All the other spreads that big are against really shitty teams.
No, yeah, I agree. It's one of the reasons the Chiefs never have as good of against the spread record as they should, because Vegas gives them a lot of respect. I actually don't hate the pick, P. I saw the line and I was like, I'm definitely not taking the Chiefs there, but I can't bring myself to bet against them. So I'll respect that pick for sure.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, and then I'm going back to the Vikings. Same line as last time. They're playing the Commanders this week. I think the Taylor Heineke train is over. I think he's running out of magic. And I think Justin Jefferson he's so good.
And
I don't
like it.
I don't think they're going to be able to cover him this week. So I'm taking the Vikings minus 3.5.
Dude, you like to go back to the well when a team covers for you.
Yeah, I do. We'll see if it pans out. It did not work this week, I guess. So we'll see.
I'm not as much of a well guy. I believe in bounce backs, and most of these teams are up and down and good one week, bad the next week. So I steer clear of the well.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable pick from the standpoint that Minnesota's good and the C words are not.
I feel kind of dirty calling them the C words.
It's the right.
I'll be honest.
Well, you can't feel any dirtier than Dan Snyder, so dirty Dan Snyder. All right. Who's picking next?
You go.
All right. I'm trying to lift myself out of mediocrity here. I'm getting my ass whooped by both of you guys. I'm really tired of intern P beating me in beer pong, beating me in picks. Not happy about it. First pick, I'm going a little bit back to the well of a pick that worked earlier. Same premise at least. I'm taking the Falcons of shitty quarterback you. I'm taking the Falcons to cover 3 points against the Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 3. The game is in Atlanta, and the premise is this. Atlanta has a really good run offense. In fact, all they do is run. 5th best rushing offense in the league, 158 yards per game. They average close to 5 yards a rush. I think they're 9th in rushing DVOA per Pro Football Outsiders. And the Chargers defense, again, their defense is built to stop the pass. And teams shred them on the ground. So they've got the 6th worst run defense in the league. They're 23rd in rush DVOA. They give out 138 yards per game. And the last 2 times they've stepped on the field, they gave up 213 yards to Seattle on the ground. I think Kenneth Walker had 169. And then they gave up 213 yards to the Browns. The last time I made this pick was with the Browns covering 3 against them and with just the premise that the Browns would run all over them, which they did. So I'm taking the Falcons to cover 3 against the Chargers.
Can I say something real quick?
Get in there.
I love your picks. I was checking the line here, and the KC game is already up to 12.5. So I would like to make my pick from minus 11 to plus 12.5. I want my extra 1.5. So I just want to put that out there.
All out.
We'll see if social media Jake will allow it.
Fair,
And Sasha.
Jake. Let's go.
Which actually is a good point. If you're following us on the socials like you should be, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you're probably seeing a lot of new stuff, a new look to our page. We've got Jake doing some yeoman's work out there. We got some branding going on. So give us a follow on the socials.
Good shout. Okay, my second pick, I'm I'm really not thrilled about this pick. I'm just going to say it. The last time I bet on the Pats, I told our listening public to run to the bank to place a bet. And I got a lot of nasty text from good friends, one of them being friend of the program, old friend from home, Brian Schulte, sent me a nasty text about the Pats not covering against the Bears at home. But I'm going back to it. I'm taking the Patriots to cover 6 against the Colts. Games in Foxborough. Sasha doesn't like it. Come on, just give it to me now, Sasha.
Yeah, listen. I had the Colts. I have plenty of picks because I'm going away from where you guys go, but I'd be on the Colts all day plus 6. Patriots riding high off of their Jets victory. I don't like the Patriots minus 6 against anyone. I think they've looked pretty bad all year, but give us your logic. I didn't want to jump in the middle of your pick, but you kind of forced me to because I was shaking my head on you.
I mean, the Colts are the worst offensive team in the league. The way that you beat the Patriots is having speed. Like their defense is if you give Bill Belichick like a standard kind of like run the ball, Jonathan Taylor up the middle, 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense, he can stop it. The Colts have literally the worst rigged offense by DVOA in the league. Patriots have one of the best defense. I just don't see Sam Ehlinger scoring on him. And look, I said that 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I guess. Said it 2 weeks ago about the Patriots versus the Bears and Justin Fields. Like I think it's a totally different scenario. The Patriots would have covered 6 against the Jets last week in New York, and the Jets are a hell of a lot better team than the Colts. So I think we're looking at that Bears game and getting scared of the Patriots. So take the other side. I don't give a shit, Sasha. Let's go head to head.
Okay, couple of things. The hostility.
I feel like as my little brother, I want to headbutt you right now.
Second thing, Jets scored a garbage time touchdown, so the Patriots would not have covered 6 against the Jets. It was 22-17. Thirdly, is it still 3 yards in a cloud of dust when most teams play on turf? Other than that, I appreciate the analysis. You have me a little bit convinced that the pick's not as shitty as I first thought.
I want you to take the other side, and I want to go head to head.
No, I got other games I like better.
I got a little fired up. What are your picks?
Yeah, I got a couple other games I like better. Now, I'm going to go.
Listening public, welcome to our childhood.
Yeah, exactly. Now all we need is third brother in to drop some F-bombs in the family thread about a Chiefs game.
Yeah. All right. What are your picks, Sasha?
All right, so you're not going to hear this every day on BroStorm Sports or out of my mouth in general. I generally hate double-digit favorites. I don't believe in NFL blowouts. Like, they happen from time to time, and sometimes they cover, but you just get shitty things like the Bills-Packers game where you backdoor a late touchdown, and all of a sudden the Bills only win by 10 instead of by 17 or 20, and they don't cover the 11. But in this case, I'm going to take a double-digit favorite, and it's going to be those Bills I was talking about. Bills at Jets. I think the Jets are pretty bad. Zach Wilson is finally showing his true colors, and here's the reason I'll take it. The Bills obviously have the propensity to blow teams out. Like, we've seen that time and again, but I think the Bills caught a lot of flack for not putting their foot on the neck of the Packers this week. And like Josh Allen throws those 2 interceptions late, even though there's no chance the Packers can win the game, they still like make it closer than it should be. The Packers at no point in that game could have won it without recovering an onside kick, which basically means they couldn't have won the game. But everybody was jumping on the Bills for not putting their foot to the pedal and putting their foot on the neck of the Packers. So I think the Bills are going to come out. They're going to assert their presence early against that was distracting, against the Jets. And then
I literally just spilled a beer on my computer. Sorry.
Oh, sweet. Well, Halloween night, crazy things happen. But nonetheless, I got the Bills minus 12.5 against the Jets. I think they win by 21 or 24 or something close to that, but at least 2 touchdowns, at least 14. I'm going Bills at Jets. For my second pick, got a couple listed here. I was thinking about that Colts-Patriots game. I was thinking about Panthers-Bengals in favor of the Panthers, by the way. I was thinking about Raiders at Jaguars. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go with the AFC West showdown. Scott's been telling me how good the Seahawks are and how bad the Cardinals are. So at some point, you got to trust your big brother. The Cardinals, I still don't think have looked very good in very many games. And the Seahawks they're running the ball really well. Kenneth Walker looks like one of the best running backs in the league. Geno Smith is playing, for him, outside of his mind. And then DK Metcalf and Aaron Lockett are still 2 of the best weapons in the league. Seahawks are playing defense. Pete Carroll is going to have a heyday scheming against Kyler Murray. And I get 2.5 points on this. I get plus 2.5 on the Seahawks. So I'll take Seahawks plus 2.5 against the Cardinals and Bills minus 12.5 against the Jets. How's that sound?
I love the Bills pick. It's a lot of points, but I agree with your premise. I stared really long at that Seahawks Cardinals game. Like I said, the Seahawks just beat the Cardinals by 10, and it probably wasn't that close in Seattle. I always get nervous on division games when a team's playing on the road. That's my only issue.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the other game, and I alluded to it for a second there, but the Panthers have still been competitive even though they've started tanking. And the way the Bengals look tonight, they're minus 8.5 against the Panthers. I don't think the Bengals should be more than a touchdown favorite against anyone right now.
I know, but the Bengals I feel like they're impossible to bet.
Yeah.
Because they can shred teams or lay an egg like they did tonight.
Yep. Well, that's our picks this week. Intern P had the Vikings and the Titans. Scott had the Patriots and the Falcons, and I go with the Seahawks and the Bills. Keep an eye on those for your Week 9 picks, and decide whether you want to be bullish on us or fade us. It's up to you. On the other side of the break, we're going to get a little bit away from the NFL, talk a little NBA, MLB, see what's going on in those leagues. Stay with us. Welcome back into the final segment of BroStorm Sports for our Halloween edition. Thank you for listening thus far. Last week, we did some preseason NBA awards, and we gave out the Kyrie Irving Award for worst teammate. We unfortunately decided that we couldn't give the award to him because of the fact that it was named after him. But after this week's events, I think we're going to retract that statement and award the preseason Kyrie Irving Award for worst teammate to Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving never ceases to amaze me in his. I mean, I guess the word is just stupidity, but I feel like there are few people in sports, or quite frankly, elsewhere, who are so self-unaware, quite frankly, just like self-righteous as Kyrie Irving is. And for the listeners, if you haven't been following this, it was only a matter of time till Kyrie Irving did something that distracted from the on-court performance and his teammates and what the Nets are trying to do on the floor, which has not been good. But if you've been following the Kanye West situation at all, he has put out a lot of insensitive, anti-Semitic, quite frankly, like disgusting content over the last couple of weeks. And Kyrie Irving decided to hop on that bandwagon and promote a video that has a lot of anti-Semitic content, a lot of anti-Semitic tones, and then when he was asked about it and interviewed, of course he was unapologetic. This guy just he really bothers me just because he is, like I said, so self-righteous that he never sees himself as doing anything wrong.
Yeah, I think the worst part of the whole situation is the fact that he's posting anti-Semitic content. But the second worst part and the more annoying part is the aloofness of his stupidity. Like he's somehow the dumbest guy in the room and thinks he's the smartest guy in the room all at the same time. And it's when he says the earth is flat, like, and he can like say that with a straight face and then look at you like you're stupid when you tell him, no, actually we figured out that it was round a long time ago. And it's a constant state of that sort of rhetoric with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, that's super well said. And, you know, we also talked about last week the most dysfunctional team, and Kyrie is contributing to the Nets being a complete disaster, right? And a lot of that has to do with Kyrie. A lot of that has to do with Ben Simmons being, quite frankly, like a complete debacle on offense and not good on defense either. The Nets are in disarray. It's not a good situation, but I think we just, you know, to be fair to the listening public, and we always keep it real here on BroStorm Sports. What'd you say? First episode, transparency is our middle name. We felt like we had to go back and give Kyrie Irving's worst teammate award to himself, just to be fair.
And just to put a bow on that, I'll tell you why he's the worst teammate. He puts Kevin Durant, I'll use him as the example because he's his most high-profile teammate. He either has to throw his own teammate under the bus and say, yeah, you can't be doing that, which is what he should have done, or just basically go along with an anti-Semite and say, no, it's only you people, which is basically what Kevin Durant did. It's you guys outside of the locker room that are creating a distraction. He's not doing anything. Well, he's the one who posted the content. So, like, have a backbone, Kevin. But that's the position that Kyrie's put him in.
For sure. And the other topic we wanted to hit, lots of stuff we could talk about in the NBA, but the only other topic we wanted to briefly hit, we're always bro sourcing content here. Friend of the program, William Norval, good buddy of mine, from back in school, gave a shout out. He wanted to hit Russell Westbrook and the debacle that is the Lakers. You know, I was getting ready to say that the situation with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook couldn't get any worse. It's been well documented how much of a disaster the Lakers shooting has been. I think they started off the season shooting 22% from three, and it would have been the worst. Like, they're on pace to, I think, have the worst shooting percentage from three from any team since like the early 2000s. It's been really bad. They started 0-5. With that being said, they brought Russell Westbrook off the bench in their first game against the Nuggets earlier in this week, and it seemed to provide a little bit of a spark. He's playing with the second unit. He made some plays. He had his best game of the year. It was probably just a statistical aberration. Excuse me if I can talk here. And that the Lakers, I think, shot 36.6% from three. And they won the game. They got on the board, first win of the season. I still don't think the Lakers are good, but I do think Russell Westbrook can carve out a little bit of a niche for himself, just being a spark off the bench. If he can stomach that and have a little bit of humility and have that be his role. Bottom line is they're going to trade him at the trade deadline, try to flip his expiring contract for someone who can shoot, which the Lakers have none of.
Right. Yeah, essentially that's the only solution for Westbrook is to bring him off the bench and like put him in with a bunch of dudes who can't score anyway. So we need you to just go chuck up every shot and like drive to the hole. And that's the way you can use him if he can stomach it, like you said. Coincidentally, William, that you brought up, also known as Norm, just so you know, Intern P, not too happy about you saying that Alabama losing is a good thing anytime.
He was not pleased. Roll Tide. Norm.
I don't apologize, though. I'm sorry. I can't go back on my word. Alabama losing is amazing.
If there's a
Intern P's a man of principles.
There's a definition of Homer in the dictionary. There's a picture of Norm in there. I mean, it's easy when you go to Alabama and you win a national championship like every other year.
But Norm, I don't know if it's called being a homer.
Trusted in his fandom of Alabama.
I mean, I agree it's probably a homer, but you're also probably not wrong when you're just like, yeah, Alabama's the best team in the country, and then the end of the year happens, and they win the national championship. So it's like it reinforces it a lot. You're pretty vindicated often, but I digress. World Series is going on. They had a pretty stellar Game 1. Astros jump out to a 5-0 lead. Phillies come back and win 6-5 in extra innings. Got like 11.5 million viewers, which is the most since 2019, which is not bad for a baseball game to get that kind of viewership, especially since they had 5 days off leading into Game 1, which I think kills a lot of momentum. Like if they had Game 7s in the AL and NLCS leading into that World Series, I think you're catching a lot more viewers along the way. So hopefully they can continue that momentum throughout the series. Pearson, any thoughts on the World Series so far?
No. I mean, I do, but I just put my Kyle Tucker MVP bet in, so hopefully he keeps going well. I kind of got pretty bad odds, but we're going to let it roll. I think the Astros are going to pull it out. I think they're the better team by far. It just depends on Verlander, how he's going to pitch, and then Valdez looked really good yesterday.
So to be clear, if I have this right, you put a bet on Tucker to win the MVP after he hit 2 home runs and 4 RBIs in Game 1.
I didn't say I was a good gambler, man. I liked
what
it.
Odds
I liked
did you get on that?
I think he might have stole that money from you. Check your savings underneath your beds.
I don't know. I wasn't sober when I made the bet. I'll tell you that.
There's a shocker.
Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah.
I woke up and I was like, "Oh, why'd I do that?" So
one last thing I have on good authority is that Intern P may have been kicked out of a few Halloween parties this weekend.
No, the blind referee did, not Intern P. That's where they get you.
It's a good point.
Man, I would have loved to see Intern P stumbling around as a blind referee.
Yeah,
they don't like that when you're at a bar in public. So here we are.
Well, you're 21.
Another strong week of betting advice from Intern P.
Yep, absolutely. No thoughts, but just place a bet on Kyle Tucker to win MVP. You heard it here first. Guys, that's been another episode of BroStorm Sports. We appreciate you listening. I mentioned it earlier, but we got some new stuff going on our socials, so give us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you've listened this far, you probably like something you heard. Review us 5 stars. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.